Hi all, welcome to my channel, welcome to my world. This is the world of AIM. Today I'm going to do a new feature on the channel because I've had so much hardware installed in here in the past few weeks. I'm going to do a feature called What's in the Workshop. And today we're going to start that with the Algolaser Delta. This is a 22W Diode laser engraver. Now, don't be fooled that this machine is just an engraver. It actually cuts as well, and I'm going to actually demonstrate that today. I'm also going to be demonstrating some of the things that I've done on top of the laser engraver since that's come to make my life easier and what I've actually been using it for at the moment. Now, as you can see, it's already set up over here, and I do have the instructions here, which I'm just going to quickly show you through, because when you do get it, it can be a bit daunting seeing what you've actually got in the box. And this is exactly what you see when you open the box. Now, there's a working size of this laser engraver, 440 times 415 mil. It's an absolutely massive area, and it can engrave up to speeds of 500 millimeters per second. It does have a built-in smart air pump, which does provide brilliant ventilation to the laser head. And it can cut acrylic and MDF in one pass. Now, one of the best things about this laser engraver is how easy it is to put together. So as you saw in the box there, you do get some of this material. And the first one you get is in this envelope, just thanking you for buying the AlgoLaser machine, which looks like this. Now, one of the most important things is we are working with lasers. You've got a certificate of conformity there, looking like this. And we do have another one just here. And we'll make that 3 times a charm with this one here as well. But when I talk about ease of assembly, they do provide a quick start guide. Now, if I open this, this goes right down into the details right from when you unbox the machine. So let me just turn to that. It's actually showing you an inventory of what you should have in there, what's in the box, and then how to remove this box. Now, when you start building this, you're actually building it in the box. And then you slowly take out some of the foam panels until you're at a point where you could take the whole machine out of that foam packaging and have it assembled there. Now, to actually assemble it is only 5 screws. And I will show you that when I show you the machine. But this is what everything's looking like here. How to focus the laser. I'm going to show you how to do that. But this quick start guide is pretty much everything you need to know to get printing straight away. Hark me, printing, I meant engraving or cutting, depending on what you want to do. Now, just so you know, I'm going to be using a program called LightBurn. Now, I will show you how I'm using that, because at the moment I've been using it to make templates for the side of the workshop out of steel. And this machine, believe me, does a fantastic job in doing that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how easy it is to unbox the machine, the 5 screws that I had to put together to get this in place. I'll show you the air pump that goes onto the side of it and how to turn on the machine. So the first 2 screws that we need to put in are 2 on this side and 2 on this side. And then this screw here is the tensioner screw, which is going to tighten the belt, which controls the laser going backwards and forwards here. And then the last thing to put in is the legs, which go on all 4 corners here. Before we use the machine, we do have an on-off key. If this is in the off position, we can't use the machine. So we need to turn that into the on position. Also, it does have an emergency stop. If the lights in here are red, it won't let you operate the machine. So when you press it, the lights go red. The only way to release the emergency stop is by twisting it, and it turns green again like that. And then to turn on the machine, we're just going to press the power button. And as you can see, it's going to boot up. And it's going to set itself to the home position. Now, it might be daunting looking at what's on the side of this machine here, but don't let that fool you. The top slot's just a standard USB where you can put a flash drive in there with your engraving information, and it can actually engrave from that. I have mine directly connected to the PC, which is why we've got this cable here, which is connected to my PC. This one here is the power, which is going to provide power to the air pump unit here. And then finally down the bottom here, we've got the power, which actually powers the machine. Now, if we look at the air pump, we do have the air tube coming out of this here, and it actually goes into the machine here, which then eventually ends up in the print head here, which is going to be keeping that laser nice and cool. Now, this air pump is actually automatically controlled, but if we want to manually control it, we do have its own little control panel down here, which I've strapped to the desk at the moment, so I can change that as well. Now, when everything's running good in the machine, we do have this neon here. When we're on emergency stop, you'll notice that this light turns colour to say there is a problem with the machine and it is actually shutting down. Now, some of the controls here, we can change the settings by clicking on the settings button there, and all the machine settings and system settings are in there. If I want to engrave, then I can go into a memory card file, which I haven't got one plugged into, and click on engrave. And then I've got the control here for the air pump. So when I click on that and the motion control, let's click on air pump. And when I turn this on, the air pump starts vibrating. And as you can see, I can actually turn this up and down. But that is what the whole machine looks like. Now, if I was to start engraving now with this print head, I'm going to be burning holes in my nice table there. So I've got a solution for that. And you're going to love the solution I've got for this. The solution for that cost me £3.50. And I got this massive ceramic tile. Now, you can see on this tile that I've already got a grid sheet on it. All I did was download a grid from the internet, put it in LightBurn, and get it to engrave that, as you can see on the screen here. This is perfectly flat, so it's going to provide a nice level surface as well. So I'm going to put this back on the machine. And when that's on the machine, it looks just like that. Now, if I want to set the laser focal height, let me show you how to do that. All we do is take this bar and flip that bar down, so this is now able to move up and down. We then take this plastic section here, push it down so the button goes in, let that settle onto the plate here. Once we're happy with that, we lock this back into position, and most importantly, we push this button to flip that back into place there. Now, I've shown you the unboxing of the machine. I've shown you the machine itself. I've showed you some of the features and controls that the machine's got. I've also shown you the ceramic tile that I'm using to print on. So I've got a nice level engraving base. And I've also shown you how to raise and lower the focal length of the laser. Now, if you want to do cutting, I wouldn't use the ceramic tile there, because as you can see, you can still engrave in ceramic, as I've done with the grid. You don't want to have marks all over it. So I have another device that I put in for when I'm doing cutting. Now, this has been purchased separately. I got this from Amazon. It is a steel honeycomb. It costs around about £50, and you can put this in and you can cut with no fear of it going through to the surface below it. And then once again, all we do is we'll put this into the machine here, making sure that that laser head is upright. I'm just going to move this back and we're going to set the level. So I've got my cutting material here, put that underneath. Once it's lined up, I will push that lever down. Push the plastic lever down, which is the depth. Make sure that touches the material, lock it back into place like this, and then press the button. It's as simple as that. Getting the focal length on this is just so easy. It's a case of just pushing a lever and pressing a button. So we now know how the machine works. I think it's time that we start actually calibrating this to cutting and engraving different materials. So this is the LightBurn program, and this is what you're greeted with when you first open it up. And the first thing you want to do is add the printer. Now, if you click on devices down here, you can see I've already added the Algolaser Delta in here. You can either find your laser if it's connected directly to your laser engraver, to your PC, or you can create manually and just link it and from a drop down list of settings. But as I've got mine in, I want to do a material test first. Now, I'm just going to bring up the material test picture here, which looks just like this. And I'm going to give it a preview on the screen to show you exactly what this is going to look like. And this is what it's going to print. Now, it's going to actually print this at different speeds and different power. Now, basically, the engraver is actually controlled by these options here. The more power you have, obviously, the hotter the laser is going to be. The more speed you have is the quicker it's going to be. sometimes it balances out between speed and power. It's a precision science, and that's why you have this little sheet here that you can actually print out, and you can decide for yourself what the best settings are for the material that you're using. Now, as I said, I'm using hardboard at the moment, so I'm going to be printing this out. And then the most important thing before I start any of this off is to make sure I've got suitable eye protection, because I am working with lasers and I don't want to go blind. So I keep these on at all times from now on while I'm using the machine. Now, I've already set the focal length for that machine, so we're going to start this test pattern for some hardboard. So this is 2mm hardboard here. And as you can see, these are the results of the test. Now, it cuts really well at speed of 10 and a power of 100%. It actually sort of vaporized the sides of those there. But we did manage to get it to cut on these ones here. So if I just poke this with my pen, that speed there was probably the best for this, which was basically a power of 60 with a speed of 10, gave perfect cutting there. Now, if I wanted to engrave, looking here, I kind of like these two. So again, I'm looking at a power of between 30 and 40 and a speed of a 10 to 20. If I wanted to do a fast engrave, I'm looking up this sort of here, and perhaps I'm looking at these two here, which is slightly more power, slightly slower. But that's how we can test different materials. Now, as you can see, I've already tested this on a bit of pine, so you can see how deep that got on a very slow speed and a high power. I've done it on some basewood here. And again, this is very similar to what we had before, but they actually cut for a lot easier on this one. And I've even tried it on paper and leather. Now, the good thing about the Algolaser Delta is they provide some test materials for you. And they all come in this box here. So as you see, I've got this bit of acrylic here. This is black acrylic. I've got some very thin pieces of black acrylic, which again, I just need to have a test and see what the best settings are for cutting that. Again, they gave us some more hardboard here. This is slightly thicker than the one we just burnt on before. And then we've got another piece of acrylic here, black acrylic. And I've also tried some of my own things, as I said, like paper and leather. And it's paper that I'm going to show you first. I'm going to show you how good it is at cutting templates out of paper. Now, when I get all the results for these, I program them in LightBurn. And if I click down the bottom on library here, you can see I've already tested basewood, metal, paper and pine. Now, I'm very rarely going to be engraving paper, so I've only got that set for cutting. But for things like basewood, as you can see here, I've got a setting for cutting and a setting for engraving. And I got all of that information by doing that test that you just saw there. Now, I'm going to get some paper. I'm going to show you what it looks like when we cut welder Wayne out of some paper. Yeah, I probably didn't line that up the best, but as you see, it's perfect. It hasn't burnt the paper, as you can see here, but it has made templates, which I can quite easily just take out like a stencil. But as you can see with the O, it just comes out really easy. And it's all because I've already pre-done the settings for this. But that's what it looks like on paper, just cutting paper. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you what engraving looks like. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to reuse just some of this here to show you some engraving. So once again, this time I'm going to go into the library and I'm going to go into basewood because that's what I'm actually working on. And I'm just going to click on engraving, not cutting this time. Once I've got that selected, I can click back on laser. This is what the picture is. It's actually of the workshop. I'm not quite sure how big this is. It looks like it's going to be around about 10 centimeters by about 130 centimeters wide. When we're ready to go, we just click on start. Okay, you ready to see how this looks? There you go. There is the workshop. It's lovely and perfectly engraved in there. As you can see, it hasn't gone through to the other side, but that is engraving in wood. And obviously you can engrave in different materials. As I said, at the moment, I'm using this blue metal. I think this is aluminium actually, to engrave patrons' names who actually donated to the workshop when I built that, and I put them on the side of the workshop as you can see here. But it is a case of just trying to figure out what sort of settings you need for different materials, and I'm going to go a lot more into that in the next video that I do on this, and we are going to do a little project to build something with that laser engraver there, so I am looking forward to that. But if you do like what you see here and you want to get one of these for yourself, I have put a link to the AlgoLaser website here, and that will take you to the Delta so you can see this all for yourself. But I hope you like that introduction to laser engraving and laser cutting. If you did, please remember to give me a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed already, please remember to subscribe. Other than that, take care.